He was like a father, like a brother. That just made that 500 such a special 500. I beat Gilles Villeneuve in just about every Formula Atlantic race. I was so frustrated, I quit. I think winning Indy in 1986 is the memory that stands out the most. Only because of the team. My team owner, Jim Truman, was not going to survive very long. Very much after the race, about 10 days later, he passed away of cancer. He was the fellow that gave me my chance, really, and supported me at all levels. Even if I was racing in Europe, to win the race for him that in '86, it was truly something special. I think, and not just. I don't think I'm the only one that felt that way. I think our entire team felt that way.
Oh, and Kevin didn't get the start he might have hoped for.
And Rahal going by him. Bobby Rahal in car number 3 has the lead once again.
So I would have to say, clearly winning Indianapolis is a tremendous achievement anyway. But to do it under those conditions, I think was made it extra special. If you see the video, in fact, I was watching it the other night, the video of me in Victory Lane at Indy, and my voice cracks because it was clear he wasn't long for the world, and yet he'd been so important to me, personally and professionally.
I'm almost in tears. This one's for Jim Truman.
So yeah, very emotional time, not just for me, but for our whole team. So many people said, oh yeah, that just made that 500 such a special 500.
Dwayne Sweeney holds a checkered flag for the 1986 Indianapolis 500 champion, Bobby Rahal.
I first met Jim in 1973. I was racing SCCA, just starting out in regional racing. Actually then did a few SCCA US Nationals at the end of that year, and he was in that category, in that series, or that type of race anyway. I was going to university maybe 30 miles east of where he lived in Columbus, Ohio. So we would socialize. And he was young. He won the SCCA National Championship in 1975. He was 40 years old, and so I'm 20 years old. He's 40. As I tell people, my relationship with him was he was like a father, like a brother, like a mentor, like an advisor. He kind of took on different roles depending on the situation. And we had a great relationship, and yeah, just very special.
Did you ever have a doubt that it would be you and Jim Truman in the Indianapolis 500?
No, because he's the highest quality human being, and I knew that my great days would come with him.
My career was up and down, up and down, up and down. When I first started, there were good years, bad years. So in 1975, I beat Gilles Villeneuve in just about every Formula Atlantic race, or out-qualified him, or what have you. Going to 1976 thinking, this is going to be my year, right? Now really, remember, this was 3 years after I started racing. And Formula Atlantic was a very tough category then, like British Formula 3, for example. And just had a horrible year. And I was so frustrated, I quit, I retired. I said, I'm done. Luckily, my girlfriend at the time, and then my mechanic at the time called. They said, "You can't. You've got to keep going. You're going to regret it." So I went to visit with a fellow in New York named Jim Morgan, who had bought the Villeneuve cars from that year to start a team. And he said, "I want you to drive blah blah blah." And I was going to get paid $18,000 a year. I was like, wow, get actually paid for racing. So I said, okay. And that year I finished second in the championship to Gilles in Formula Atlantic. That kind of reignited everything. And so I guess my point, and the whole point to this is, racing is, it's based on not just talent. It's based on, I think the biggest thing is it's based on, fortitude and on perseverance and on, that never say die attitude. That, if you believe in yourself, and I think you have to, right? Every driver I've ever known that has succeeded has always had an innate belief in their own talents and that they could make it. And there are times when that's not so apparent. But for young drivers, that self-belief, that commitment, that motivation that you get from that self-belief is so critical, because you're going to have a lot more bad days, you're going to have good days, and yet you can't let that deter you. You have to keep, as I say, keep on keeping on. You just got to keep pushing. 1975, I was a hot, prospect. 1976, it was Bobby Who. 1977, I was a hot prospect. My point being is, it's all about perseverance, and it's all about commitment, and it's all about dedication and that self-belief. And it's not always going to work out, but you have to have that regardless. And so that's what I would just tell young people, and I do tell young people is, yes, talent's important, but it's that mental commitment, that drive, that just belief that you can do it.